Postcards were a very important factor in the cult of Mussolini for a number of reasons. First, because they were produced not only by the state and fascist party organisations, but by commercial companies. Secondly, they were important because people didn't just send them, as they might any postcard, but they actually collected them. The number and variety of postcards published under the regime was absolutely phenomenal. Many of them have been collected in Rome by Enrico Sturani, who has written about this phenomenon. Here we have a selection of postcards which display various aspects of the personality cult. We see Mussolini surrounded by crowds, a particular depiction which indicates, of course, his popularity. We also see Mussolini the sportsman, the skier. We see Mussolini the historical figure in the guise of Napoleon, but also standing in full uniform in front of the Colosseum, one of the key monuments remaining from the time of ancient Rome. We also see Mussolini the helmsman, and something also of Mussolini the warrior, surrounded by troops. In some of these depictions, he is on his own, he is an isolated figure, but a figure who is clearly representative. In others, he is mixed in with the collectivity. Mussolini, the man of the people, Mussolini, the embodiment of the Italians' historic destiny. One of the images that we can see on the left of this case is a very curious one, though, and it depicts the goddess Rome with Mussolini's face, and it's a curious example of the mixing of the masculine and the feminine, which also went on under the dictatorship. If we look at the right hand of this display case, we can see a variety of anti-Mussolini postcards. These, generally speaking, had a much smaller distribution, and I think we need to understand them in relation to the popularity that postcards had during the regime itself. Anti-Mussolini propaganda used whatever media the regime itself had used, and several of the images here were produced by the Allies for distribution in Italy as they progressed up the peninsula, having landed in Sicily in July 1943. They depict him arrogantly standing firm against the impending invasion of the peninsula. They depict him drowning, grasping at his ally Hitler. They depict him as the bombastic speaker, haranguing the crowds even though he's clearly losing his way. We can see an aggressive and sad Mussolini in these pictures, who is subjected to extreme ridicule, perhaps in particular in the postcard here, where together with other dictators he is depicted as an illustration on a roll of toilet paper. But we can also see that Mussolini's final end made it onto postcards. When Mussolini was executed in April 1945 and his body brought back to Milan along with those of his lover and various of his final associates, it was a moment of collective catharsis for the Italians. It's curious that that moment should also have made it onto postcards and become, in a way, the final epitaph of a man whose personality cult had been reflected through this medium as well as others.